The legacy media is slowly starting to realize something that's causing many of them to panic. They're realizing that Trump is setting up a midterm battlefield that threatens to be an absolute bloodbath for the Democrats. And the more they look at it, the worse it gets. Because it's not just the polls. It's not just the fundraising gap. It's not just the fact that 11 Democrat senators are retiring in states that Republicans can win. It's that Trump has been quietly, methodically rewiring the very infrastructure of how American elections are administered, investigated, and enforced. And it's completely catching the Democrats off guard. Even the media is admitting it. And by the time the Democrats understand what he's built, it'll be too late. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, enjoying yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We often talk in this channel about Trump's uncanny ability to play 4D chess. Even Democrat strategists like James Carville have openly admitted that Trump is a grandmaster at 4D chess, a grandmaster at pursuing a far-sighted, multi-layered strategy that his opponents, thinking only one or two steps ahead, are too short-sighted to perceive until it's too late, until he has them checkmated. And what's so fascinating is that there are a number of left-wing outlets that are finally starting to realize that Trump is indeed several steps ahead of the Democrats, especially when it comes to the upcoming midterms. As it turns out, the redistricting wars that Trump initiated were just the beginning of a far more intricate and sophisticated plan to completely change the midterms battlefield. And it's none other than the recently defunded PBS that's sounding the alarm in all of this. They're actually recognizing what Trump is doing. And they believe the Democrats have been caught completely flat-footed in all of this. And so what I want to do here is I want to walk you through the 4 moves of Trump's 4D chess that even left-wing outlets are beginning to recognize. And indeed, they're starting to panic over. And I'm going to show you exactly why. So let's start with move number 1. Most Americans have never heard of what's called the Election Assistance Commission. That's the EAC. It's not the Federal Election Commission, which handles campaign finance. The EAC deals with the machinery of elections. It certifies voting systems. It develops guidance for election officials. It distributes election security grants to the states. And it manages the national mail voter registration form used in all 50 states. On July 9th, President Trump did what many in the administrative state once thought unfathomable. He fired the commission's 2 remaining Democrat members, Thomas Hicks and Benjamin Hovland. The lone Republican commissioner, who was a total rhino, resigned under pressure. So as we speak, the EAC now has 0 sitting commissioners. The professional staff can continue certain routine functions, but without commissioners, the agency cannot approve any new policies or certify any new voting systems or set any new standards. Now, here's the question the media is not asking. Why would Trump deliberately leave the commission headless just months before the midterms? And the answer is very simple. Leverage. Leverage on 2 fronts simultaneously. First, it stops the existing commissioners from advancing policies the administration doesn't support. But second, it gives the president complete control over who to appoint next, who gets nominated, what standards they support, and the like. It's all about Trump having more or less complete control over the EAC, which oversees the very process and machinery of all federal elections. Move number 2, and this one's even more aggressive, Trump's Department of Justice just sent letters to election officials in all 50 states and the District of Columbia warning that officials could face criminal prosecution if they knowingly allowed non-citizens to remain registered or participate in federal elections. The administration has simultaneously been demanding voter registration information from every state. Several blue states have refused to comply, so the DOJ has taken all of them to court. But the major point is this: Trump is forcing every governor, every Secretary of State, every election board, every Attorney General in America to make a public choice. You either cooperate or you fight in court. Those are your only two options. And when you're constantly up against the federal government in court, that poses tremendous pressure to eventually comply. But it's Trump's third move that may indeed be the most shocking of them all. This is the move that already has the Democrats sweating, and apparently it is coming this Thursday night. But first, gang, what if I told you there's a little-known arbitrage play hiding inside a $30 billion market, and regular people with zero background in finance or tech are quietly generating $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000 a month from it, using nothing but a laptop? I know it sounds almost too good to be true, but here's what's actually going on. There's a significant and very real pricing gap in the used book market. The same book can be worth dramatically different amounts depending on where it's listed. And the people who've learned how to spot and exploit that price gap are building serious, sustainable income. And what makes this unlike anything else that I've come across is you never actually handle a single book. There's no physical inventory sitting in your garage, no trips to the post office, no physical logistics whatsoever. The whole thing runs from your browser. You identify the opportunity, you make a few clicks, and the fulfillment side is handled entirely by someone else. And I want to be clear, this isn't, a side hustle that just pads your grocery budget. This is a real business model that people are running full time right now. Many of them haven't walked away from jobs they didn't love in the first place. That's why I'm personally hosting a free training on Monday, July 20th, where I'm going to walk you through exactly how this system works, start to finish. No filler, no theory, just the actual mechanics of how to find the opportunities and what to do with them. I'm going deep on this, and I'm genuinely excited to show you what I found. Click the link below or type bkprofit.com/Turley into your browser, or scan the QR code on your screen to reserve your free spot right now. Again, you do not want to miss this one. Click on that link below right now.
World and around the nation are anticipating a big announcement on Thursday night regarding election machines and integrity. Can you give us sort of a sneak peek about what to expect and tell the audience?
Well, I'd rather save it. It will concern that subject, and we'll have a couple of other things to say also. But I'd rather save it. But it's really big news. It's really, really big news, and our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday. Is it doesn't get bigger, because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah.
Move number 3, and this is what promises to be the big announcement this Thursday night, the one that tells you exactly how serious Trump is. Trump is both exposing and cracking down on election fraud. He signed 2 major elections-focused executive orders. The first directed states to purge voter rolls of non-citizens, limited mail-in ballots, and prohibited foreign nationals from interfering in U.S. elections. The second EO ordered DHS and the Social Security Administration to compile a master state citizenship list, a federally verified roster of eligible voters transmitted to every state at least 60 days before each election, and directed the U.S. Postal Service to create traceable, barcoded official election mail envelopes for all mail-in ballots sent only to verified absentee voters. Trump has also created what he calls the Election Integrity Army. So Trump announced recently that the massive Republican election integrity force that was deployed back in 2024, which had monitors in every single swing state, they're going to return for 2026 bigger and stronger than ever before. And of course, we now have the fraud task force headed by Vice President J.D. Vance, established specifically to eliminate fraud across federal programs with an elections component to it. And finally, move number 4, federal funding is now being tied directly to election security compliance. Homeland Security grants, FEMA grants, and other federal funding streams are being connected to states' cooperation with election security requirements. That's another pressure point entirely, again, outside of Congress, one that doesn't require 60 Senate votes, doesn't require overcoming a filibuster, and it doesn't require a single Democrat to agree to anything. It's executive leverage applied quietly with enormous practical consequences for every state government in the country. In short, Trump is attacking election integrity from every angle simultaneously: legislative, executive, investigative, legal, and on the ground, building a layered system no single court ruling can dismantle entirely. The EAC is empty. Trump controls what comes next. The DOJ has sent letters to all 50 states. Every election official in America is now on notice. Trump is exposing and cracking down on fraud, and federal funding is being tied to compliance. States have a direct financial incentive to cooperate. These are not four separate controversies. They're 4 points of pressure applied simultaneously to the same target. The question of who controls how America votes in November. And here's why this matters so much for the midterm map. Because we're not just talking about election mechanics in the abstract. We're talking about a specific Senate landscape that's already catastrophic for Democrats without any of this. 11 Democrat senators are not seeking re-election this cycle. That's the largest retirement wave in the modern Senate era. And they're retiring in states like Michigan and New Hampshire, which are swing states, purple states, where incumbency was doing all the heavy lifting over the last several years. Republicans currently hold a 53-45 majority, and they're realistically looking at pickups in those very states. Michigan, possibly Georgia, New Hampshire. Georgia's could be interesting after President Trump's address this Thursday evening, reportedly exposing the fraud there. Georgia's John Ossoff is already vulnerable in a state Trump won in 2024, and he now faces the prospect of a Thursday primetime address in which President Trump is expected to present declassified intelligence directly questioning the legitimacy of the 2020 Georgia Senate elections. The RNC entered this cycle with $109 million cash on hand versus a DNC that's carrying $17 million in debt. All three major House projection maps, Crystal Ball, Cook Political Report, and Inside Elections, all three have Republicans gaining seats in a midterm where when the incumbent party historically loses 40. Now, on top of all that, add election integrity as a defining national issue, forced to the center of the conversation by a president who's turned every federal lever at his disposal into a pressure point, and the midterm map does not just look bad for the Democrats, it looks like a generational catastrophe in the making. And Trump's 4D chess may indeed be the checkmate.